All right, so welcome to our professional learning community. My name is Stephanie Bennett, and I'm a professional development specialist here at CodeHS. But I am so excited today to be joined by Kim Hansen, who is our resident APCSA expert here today. So Kim, would you like to tell a little bit about yourself?
Sorry. I teach AP Computer Science A in Vancouver, Washington. Been teaching for APCSA for about 10 years, but this is my second year with CodeHS teaching it.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So we have some resources here for everyone. And so if you would like to nab this URL, or if you would like to alternatively scan that QR code, then you can have a copy of these slides accessible to you. Let me get this in the chat here. So this is a link to our sharing doc, and then we're also going to have a link to our slides. Probably the sharing doc will be more important here as we work together. So make sure you open that up, join us in our little notes area. And then if you want them, here are the slides. I'll put this link in the chat as well. All right, so welcome again. I'll give you just a few more seconds to get these items pulled up on your screen if you would like to follow along with us in either the slides or our notepad sharing doc. And you'll notice that you do have edit access to that notepad. So while we're here together sharing fabulous ideas, sharing wonderful resources for our APCSA courses, we want you to drop whatever links have been really helpful to you in that document. All right, so our goal here today, like I said, very collaborative space here. This is a professional learning community. We are here to share, to build our network and share our expertise. And so we're going to collaborate in an environment where we can share ideas, resources, we can discuss assessments and test preparation strategies, where we can explore teaching methodologies in APCSA, refine our pacing. I know that's something I always struggled with as an educator. And all with the goal, we're going to keep that goal in mind of improving student outcomes, increasing students' performance on the APCSA exam, and supporting each other with delivering high quality instruction. So our agenda for today, we're about done with these welcome and introductions and the logistics around this meeting. And so we're going to hop right into discussion about where is everyone right now. We're going to actually do a round of sharing in the chat. And we are going to put names in the chat so that you can know when it's your time to speak, because we have about 12 folks on this call right now, and we want to make sure everybody has time to share what's happening in their classroom, to share their ideas, share their resources, not just in that notepad document, but also with the group live here today. So we'll do one round of sharing, just asking you, hey, where are you at right now? We're going to do another round of sharing around pacing, another round of sharing around assessment, day to day in your class. And then we have a quick poll. Do you use notes, or do you not require students to take notes in class? And then we'll talk about our next steps for this professional learning community. All right, so just a reminder as we get our discussion kicked off here, this is not a sit and get webinar. We are here to be together, to bounce ideas off each other, to share great resources. And so please, please, please don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to answer questions. Don't be afraid to share resources. And please join in the conversation. All right. Let me jump to this then. If you could, in the chat, let's go ahead and get your name, how long you've been teaching in general, how long you've taught AP CSA specifically, and how long have you used CodeHS? If you all could share in the chat, this will be our first sharing of the day.
Hello. So this is Aisha. I'm unable to see the chat option here.
Oh, let me make sure I've got my chat options set. Let's see here. Participants can chat with everyone. It looks like it was already set to everyone.
Okay.
Aisha, can you try again? It looks like Shannon has been able to get the chat working.
Yes, I'm able to get it now. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right, looks like lots of years of experience here in this group. I absolutely love to see that. We're going to have some great tips and tricks and ideas shared today. All right, I'm going to take one more minute while we introduce ourselves, and I am going to make sure I have my list up here of the order people are going to talk. All right, so what we're going to do here is we are going to go in order in this discussion. And I think I've got everybody in: Kim, Aisha, Danielle, Erin, Galen, Lalitha, and Shannon. Perfect. Okay. So in the chat, I've put names in order, and we're going to go through our questions here about where are you in the curriculum? How's it going? Do you feel like you're on track? Any unexpected challenges with AP CSA this year? And we do have about 8 of you who joined us, plus our CodeHS folks who aren't teaching this year. So we'll exclude them from this particular question. So go ahead and take, 1 to 3 minutes answering these questions with the group. And I'll ask Kim to start us off.
Okay. For me, it's going pretty well. I'm finishing unit 2 this week though, so I think I'm a little bit behind schedule, but the students were having some trouble with objects. So there's that. But I do feel like in general, it's going pretty well. I wish I was doing more projects to make sure they're getting it. So anyway, I'm out and about in unit 2. So I'm not so sure I'm on track, but that's okay. Aisha?
Anything pop up
Oh.
unexpected this fall semester?
Just that they aren't getting the objects like I thought they would. So, yeah,
Always a tough one.
yeah.
All right. Thank you for sharing, Kim. Aisha, if you have anything to share here, you can on these 3 questions, or you can pass, whatever you prefer.
So, I mean, I teach AP CSP, but I'm learning Java and CodeHS, and my son is taking CSA, so I thought of helping him. So that's the reason I'm attending this meeting.
Awesome. Well, welcome and thank you for joining. All right. How about Danielle? Would you like to share how it's going in APCSA this year?
Yeah, it's going pretty good. We just finished Unit 3. I started 4.1 the other day. So we're doing 4.2 tomorrow. This year, my group of kids, they struggled with objects as well. Might just be my fault. I don't know. But in years past, my kids have loved classes and objects and everything. And this year, these kids are just like, this is dumb. So I'm having a hard time, like, connecting with them on classes. They're like, when are we done with this? I'm like, that's the whole point of this class. So get right with it. Because I showed them Unit 5 is all classes, and they're like, oh no. They breezed through Unit 3 though. That was easy for them. So Kim, there's light. Unit 3, you know. That's all I've got. I'm doing pretty well.
Thanks, Danielle. I see you're in the car again also.
Listen, okay, every meeting gets scheduled when I have other things going on. So I promise I'm involved in all of these things. I'm just always so busy.
I know. We appreciate you being here so much. Thank you. How about Erin? Do you want to tell us how it's going? Are you on track?
Good question. If I'm on track, seems like I'm a little bit further behind than I was last year, but I think it's going okay. And we are just about ready to take we just finished everything on Unit 1, taking the test tomorrow. And our unit, did I say Unit 3? Unit 3, yes. Okay, and not really seeing any challenges except for it's a small class. I need to get my numbers up better.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. How about Galen?
Well, I'm in a little different situation, I think, than most of you. I teach at a cyber charter school, and part of our charter is that we're asynchronous. So I have to have the entire curriculum up from day 1 so kids can go through at whatever pace they want. Technically, we're wrapping up Unit 3 here at the end of the quarter next week, and we'll start Unit 4 the following week. I've only got 6 kids in the class, and 1 kid only worked for a week and then stopped. So as far as being on track, sure, we're on track. Most of them, there's a couple of kids who are behind. I still am floundering though, because I got thrown into this position and I'm trying to learn Python and Java, and now also JavaScript, because we added another class this year all at the same time, and none of it sticks because I got an old brain.
Oh, well, it sounds like you are dealing with a lot. So hopefully we can help you out here. I will be interested to hear if anybody else in the group also runs their course more asynchronous and student directed rather than teacher directed. Thank you for sharing. How about Lalita?
My class is in the middle of Unit 4. I think we are on track, and I mean, I'm a first year teacher, so I think it's going good, but who knows?
Is that we'll find out at the APCSA test at the end of the year?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I will wait that long. Generally, it shows, I believe it, the moment you reach the next unit, you would know whether they got the last unit or not.
Good. Perfect. Well, I can't wait to hear about your assessments. So you can share about how you judge how your students are doing.
Multiple ways. One is I gave them coding exercises. I made them do in the class so that they don't use ChatGPT to copy the answers. And also I have interactive question, I throw the problems on the board and ask them to work it out on their small lap boards and show me, what they think the output is. And then we discuss the problem on the whiteboard. So it's a combination of high tech and low tech.
I love that. I can't wait to hear more about it. Thank you for sharing. How about Shannon? How you doing? Are you on track?
Hi. Yeah, I think maybe we started a little before everybody, or else I'm going too fast. But we started unit 5 this week. We do have 70-minute classes. And we started August 19th. So maybe that's why I'm ahead, or maybe I'm just like, my kids tell me I'm going fast. I'm like, yes, it's AP, we're going fast. But I have all my students every day this semester, and the next semester I only have them every other day. So I feel like I have to like front load all the content, and then, next semester we'll maybe practice more. So I feel like I'm on track with like what I pasted out to be. Unexpected challenges, as somebody else said, or other people said, unit 2 was really challenging to my students this year. So much so that I abandoned the last 2 units and just like ended unit 2, because I was like, we need to get to 3, which is easier. So we did that. And then after 3 and 4, I went back and finished 2. And then I did this whole Play-Doh thing with them that maybe I can share with you guys later, about like making classes and things like this. And they were like, why didn't you do this in unit 2? Like, this makes more sense. And it went really well. So that kind of just happened this week, which was a positive experience. But this is my first year teaching AP CSA, but I do come from a computer science background, so it's not like brand new to me. But I've used the CodeHS JavaScript course, video game design, for a number of years now. And I also get confused between JavaScript and Java. I'll put the wrong thing on the board a lot. So Galen, I'm right there with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing also. So I'm going to put the link to that sharing resources doc again in the chat. I know, Danielle, I think you came in after I had put that in the chat. So there it is again. This is where we're going to start sharing resources as we talk about pacing. And I know Christopher wanted to give us some info about pacing. So Christopher, what you got for us?
So yeah, I noticed a common comment was people thinking they're behind, and I looked through the chat. It looks like everybody seems to be within about a 5-year window of having taught the course. I'm hosting PD membership sessions for the planning out this course, and I actually just did one about 3 and 4, units 3 and 4 today. 3 and 4 is where you can make up ground. Several people have commented how like their kids kind of flew through it. If your kids have any experience in computer science, units 3 and 4 is where you can make up time. It's if statements and loops. They should already know how to do that. They just need to learn the Java syntax. So if you feel like you're behind, don't worry, because I promise you can make up time in units 3 and 4. And on the whole struggling with unit 2 concept, I actually tried moving unit 2 after unit 4, and with very few exceptions actually worked out really well, because 1, 3, and 4 the kids kind of already had a grasp on variables and ifs and loops and whatnot, and then 2 and 5 go hand in hand with the objects and then classes and everything. So don't be afraid to deviate from the flight plan if it works better for you. Aaron, the estimate is to be through about unit 5 by holiday break, by winter break. So the first semester should be units 1 through 5, but that's not a hard and fast rule. That's just that's College Board's pace, really. You're not doing anything wrong if you don't finish unit 5 by Christmas. So don't think that you're behind or anything like that. trust me. The spring semester has padding in it for test prep. So you may bleed into the built-in time to prepare for the exam when it gets closer. But yeah, don't stress over the pacing. If you don't finish up Unit 5 this semester, you're doing fine, trust me.
And Christopher, we had a question from Danielle who asked, did you do 2 and then 5, or do you mix them?
I did 2 and then 5. I did 1, 3, 4, 2, 5. The first semester. And putting 2 and 5 together worked really well with them getting objects and classes at the same time, because Unit 2 talks about a lot of what's covered in Unit 5, and then you don't cover it for 2 units. So I swapped them around, and it worked out pretty well.
Thank you for that. Well, I'm going to toss it back to Kim. We're going to run through our speaking list in order again. And Kim, what strategies do you use for pacing? Do you keep everybody together? How do you keep everybody engaged?
So I mostly keep everyone together, and they seem pretty happy with just following the pace that I set for them. I open the whole unit one unit at a time, but I don't open the quiz. And a few work ahead, but most of them are just happy staying with where I'm at. For the ones that work ahead, though, I have a website that has a list of things that they can do. So if they complete the day's work, then they can go to this website and do any of the like games that I have on there that are like how to do binary numbers, or whatever, anything coding related that's on this website. But I have a rule in my class. There is no such thing as done. And so they have to do some kind of coding, so they don't get to do like work for another class or play on their phone or whatever. So, but as we get closer to the AP test and they're ready to start doing AP practice, then I'll have them do that if they finish early. But yeah, I pretty much keep them together. That's my tips.
Awesome. So that website, is that something that you can share publicly, or is that like a Canvas?
No, it's not Canvas. It's just on my website.
Okay.
So
would you mind
could post
dropping it in our notepad?
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Then next up is Aisha.
Yeah, so I teach AP CSP. Yeah. So CSA, I'm just learning, and I'm here for my son. But when I hear like the teachers are unit 3 or 4, I mean, I'm just on unit 2. So I was just thinking I'm just behind, because this year I had like 47 students, and some of them like struggle to understand the if statement. So I'm just, yeah, moving on.
All right. Well, if anybody has any tips for if statements, take some time and help Aisha out there. All right. Thank you, Danielle. How do you keep everybody together or let people work at their own pace? And how do you engage those students who are ahead or behind?
So everything is locked except for the stuff I do in class. So we're all together on the same lesson. So we'll go through the video. And then I do all of the exercises with them. And then I have like paper homework. So that's how I keep track of where we're at. I 1 year did have it all open, and I have like, we all have overachieving kids and they're annoying. And so they will finish. And then when I'm actually teaching, talk over me and all that. So I lock everything up until we're doing it together in class. So I don't know if that's what everybody else agrees with, but that's what I agree with. So
we are all here to share what works for us. So thank you. Do you have extra work for those fast finishers or resources for folks who, there are students who need some additional support?
So I don't really have fast finishers because we do everything together in class. So like I give them time to like talk to each other to solve the exercises, and then we do them together. I go over them and do them together. I bought off of like Teacher Pay Teacher some like homework worksheets. And then I made like guided notes to the videos that they do on their own. Other than that, not really. I've been looking for more practice, and I came across, I think when you were over at the at Lake Central, I saw the practice ones for Python, so I'd have to look at the Java. I just haven't had a chance. You know, I'm just like everywhere all the time. I'm like in this big meeting over here. I'm like so booked, but I wanted to be here because I love CodeHS. So yes, but if I stop participating, I'm listening, I promise.
You're all good. All
Okay.
good. Thank you for sharing. And Erin, how are you handling pacing in your classroom?
I have it mapped out with, I use well, we have like 80-ish minutes in our period and every other day. And so CodeHS, they have it all spaced out. I'm not CodeHS, I mean College Board is all divvied out in 45-minute periods. So I just look at that and just kind of calculate how many days we should be doing based off of what College Board thinks. So I pretty much try my best to stick to the pacing that College Board has set. And then times if, you know, it seems like, you know, if the students are struggling, I'll say, okay, we'll give you another day to get it done. And I only open up the lessons just when they're scheduled to open up. And and then they go at their own pace, but I just tell them, I said, this is where you should be. Sorry, this is where you should be at this point. And then they, you know, gauge themselves pretty much. So as far as the early finishers, sometimes I get some that get done a little early, but you know, they still have something they need to be doing every day. Because I only open up to that point, but they could, as a matter of fact, I think I have a couple of students that are doing that they go ahead and do the work in CodeHS, even though it's closed, because we just barely got the pro version of CodeHS, and so they could go and move ahead if they wanted to. So I might have a couple of them doing that, but they do it very quietly and they're not pains in the butt like Danielle's kids. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Galen, how are you handling? Well, you said that everybody's asynchronous at your school. Do you have extra resources outside of CodeHS that you use for your students to get them extra practice?
Yeah, of course, the College Board site, I make that available. I don't know that anybody's using it. But yeah, I let them know it's there. You know, I ask that they join it and use it for preparation. But yeah, and I just divide the year up. I try and get everything in, well, before the test in May. I guess I've left a couple labs at the end if they finish, if they, you know, finish by the test. They still have something to do to keep them busy till graduation. But yeah, it's just all divided kind of evenly.
And so the College Board website, do your students find it's pretty engaging and keeps them interested in the material, or is it a little more dry?
I've not heard anything from my crew this year. In the past, I've had some who, I mean, they enjoyed the practice problems. But those are students who are, you know, interested in taking the test and such. I think I have a few who are, I don't know why exactly they're in the course, because they're not doing it for the college credit. So, but yeah, I mean, it's relatively dry, right?
Thank you for sharing that. Lolita, how are your students doing on pacing?
I have a few students who are who can be advanced, but so I don't have material ahead of time prepared because this is my first year, so I'm almost scrambling the night before to prepare the material. So it's not as if they have it available. But so my technique is I prepare the material. There's a College Board exercise and homework that they use for homework. And also code, I allocate about half of the time in the class for CodeHS, mainly because I want them to ask the questions at that point when they are looking at the examples and doing the exercises. Again, if I were to give them the same problems as homework and ask them to do, compile and do it in a BlueJ or something like that, out comes a ChatGPT. So then yeah, my biggest struggle is finding enough exercise problems for them, whether it be mostly free response and MCQs. So far it's been adequate, I guess. But then, I mean, they do seem to be doing okay. And especially what I find is that the students who have had prior experience with coding, they actually are too overconfident when it comes to answering logical questions. If they don't have a compiler to compile, and if they don't have a debugger to walk through, then it's almost like it's guaranteed that they would make mistakes. But if the same question if I give to a student who hadn't had much of coding experience, they put in the logic brain, the hat, and they seem to do better.
Thank you for sharing those insights. I love an overconfident student. Nothing makes for a better teachable moment, right?
No, I love the fact that they're confident. And fighting, and I know that they, in many parts they're very advanced, much more than me. It's just that experience. I add the experience part of it, and now I think they have learned to say, okay, okay, I will give you a listen.
Love all of those ideas. Thank you. How about Shannon? Do you keep everybody together? Let them work independently? And how do you engage your students who are diverse in their skills?
Yeah, I have everything unlocked except for the quizzes, because I do use those as assessments at the end in addition to some FRQs. But I have like 3 or 4 high flyers that could probably finish the whole unit in a day if they wanted to. Like usually by the time I'm done with the warm-up questions, they're done with the whole day. But they really then they just kind of play video games, and I don't give them a hard time because they've done our work for the day and they understand what they're doing. I do need to work on giving them some more structure of things to do. And I actually thought, when I think of the name, I'll put it in the link, but there's a great website where you can go practice your Java skills in the 2D game world. It'll come to me. But I actually was thinking as we were talking about this, I really need to give that to those guys so they have something to do. In order to keep the kids from doing that, I do some handwritten stuff. Like the other day was 80. We're in Pennsylvania, and it's 80 in October. So we took clipboards and pieces of paper, and we went outside and we worked on how to write a class on paper. So the kids that were high flyers weren't doing that. Obviously, they had to participate with us on that day. I've tried round robins where we're going around in a circle and we're talking about what's the next line of code and what's the next line of code. And my coding students love to remind me that they chose computer science because they don't like to talk to people. But I'm this is a skill that you're going to need to have as an adult, so we're going to keep working on it. So I try to do some of those kind of things so that even my high flyers can't go and zip away. But then, even if I'm having to go line by line around in a circle and get the code, my kids that know how to do it are already done, and so it's hard to contain them. They know exactly what to do and they do it quickly.
That is amazing. My husband's a software engineer and he has to collaborate with people all the time. I don't think
it's a skill,
but it is a skill that they need for sure. So congrats to you for making sure to bring them out of their little shells and encourage them to participate. I love that. All right, well, make sure that you get any other resources on pacing or, challenging activities for students or extra help for struggling students. Make sure you get those in our notepad here under pacing. And then we're going to move on to assessment. So obviously we don't have time for everybody to answer all 7 of these questions. So I'm going to give you a second to look through this list of questions, maybe pick one that you really feel passionate about and want to address. And of course, I will put our speaking order back in the chat. And so Kim, what would you like to say about assessment?
Keep forgetting I mute myself. Someone's brought up Goldies on Teachers Pay Teachers, and when I want to do stuff outside of CodeHS, I've looked into using that because I don't like doing just multiple choice questions. But then I do use the CodeHS end of unit tests. But some of those questions are tricky, so I give them notes ahead of time. So I do the questions myself ahead of time and check them out. So that's what I have to say about that.
All right, thank you. Aisha, you can pass if you want to, or do you have any tips that assessment styles that have worked really well for you in APCSP that maybe teachers could bring over to APCSA?
Yeah, so I mean, last year I had only 13 students. So I gave assessment on paper. I gave assessment on paper last year just to avoid the copying. But this year I have 47 students. So I just used Linkit, but I found still the students are copying because I know students struggle in the class when the student got like a full score in the MCQ. So I mean, it is a little tricky. So what I'm planning to do is I'm just going to tell the students, I'm going to randomly choose like a couple of students and they'll get the paper test and it just rotates, or the same student is going to get the paper test again. So generally I take, I started creating my own test for each unit. I see some students do like the classwork and homework better than the test, and they tell the test is harder for them. I generally don't give them retake, but this is the first year I gave them retake. So I need to prepare another set of questions for the students. Like, and the retakes are paper tests, so I don't want the students to like copy. But I'm just struggling. I don't know how the other teachers handle like giving the test. Is it on paper or is it online? Do they use anything where the students are unable to go to other websites?
Yeah, thank you for that question. If anybody else would like to take that on when it's your turn to speak, we would be happy to hear about paper versus online assessment and creating question banks. You know, like where do you go when you need to create additional assessment options for students? Thank you, Aisha. Danielle, are you there? You want to talk about assessment?
Yeah, so I also purchased Goldie's stuff on Teacher Pay Teacher. I just will say that there are a lot of typos and mistakes and wrong answers. So I've had to like go through her worksheets very, very slowly with lots of different eyeballs on it, because the one year I implemented it, I was like having kids fight me like that's wrong, you know, whatever, and I didn't check it. So if you happen to purchase her stuff, please make sure you like look through it. I leave the quiz on CodeHS open for them as like extra practice. I don't take that for a grade. And then I also have like projects for each of the units. So the kids, I'll like put 3 up there and they can choose one and work on it. And my kids have said, especially this year, that they really like those projects. It like brings it all together for them in each unit. And then my tests are on paper, because I've noticed the lovely copying and pasting on some of the projects in that history tab when they turn their stuff in. So I really like the paper stuff because I can tell definitely who knows what's going on and who doesn't from the paper. And I used to be able to like say, hey, the AP, you know, FRQ is on paper, so we're like practicing our handwriting. Now that they know it's online, you know, they're like, why are we doing paper? But I was in the process of making my own like quizzes and homeworks as well and tests and stuff, but then AP announced that they're changing the stuff, so I didn't want to like organize it to what we currently have if it's going to change for next year. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you.
Danielle, I can commiserate with you on the paper thing. Tried giving my students paper exams to practice, and you would have thought I made the paper out of their personal family tree as much as they revolted. So I totally understand you on that one.
Thank you. Erin, how's assessment going for you?
Well, I try my best to always use the College Board quizzes and progress checks every single time as much as I can, get them used to the questions and how the questions. So some of the big roadblocks is how the questions are being asked. And so using the College Board strictly, that's why I use College Board strictly for the questions, for the quizzes, and I do quizzes and progress checks. And let's see, as far as, yeah, this computer thing, I was wondering, this, like they started doing the computer, this is going to be all online. And so that is going to be a big question. You guys brought up a good question. Are they copy and pasting? But I tried to help them understand. It says, look, this whole class is all about training you guys to get you guys ready for the AP exam. So if you're copy and pasting each other's work, that you're going to fail. And so you need to know it, not how you can get the answer from your buddy. So, and that's just something I just go, look, guys, you just need to realize this is for you to get you ready. So if you're going to jeopardize that, if you're going to sacrifice that, then why are you in this class? So, and that's why just kind of help them keep that on the front of their mind, like, oh, I'm not just trying to desperately keep my A. I'm trying to get ready for a pretty intense test. So that's why I try to tell them. So I don't know what's going to happen. I wonder if it's going to be, if they're going to be struggling on the online version of the College Board test. And of course, it seems totally illogical to have a programming test on paper. It's a hilarious joke. It's been this hilarious joke so it's kind of great that they did it online, but are they going to do well? That's a really good question.
The eternal conversation with high school students about the skills that they need in the real world when they leave high school. Yes, it is. I taught French and I taught English, and I had those same conversations. You need these skills. You need this knowledge. You don't just need an A in this class. Been there, done that. Thank you for sharing. Galen, how are you doing on assessment?
I use whatever you guys provide, whatever's in the class. It's all plugged in there. I do allow retakes. I've been on a soapbox for years about standardized tests and such, and I just don't believe that they're the best thing for us. But I like giving kids a second chance because they're all about their grades. At least the AP kids are.
Yeah, there are a few downsides to teaching the high flyers, super talented kiddos for sure. They can be challenging in other ways. Thank you for sharing. Lalitha, how are you doing on assessment? You told us a little bit earlier. Would you like to elaborate on your unplugged whiteboard or your other assessments?
So that is a day-to-day assessment of when I'm teaching, have they understood the concept, or should I approach it in a different manner? But I also, 2 times per unit, I do give them quizzes, and this is I use the College Board questions from the question bank, it is how do I put it? My struggle has been to get them to, they are doing okay in multiple choice. It's and they don't. I mean, when they're doing it online, it's not as if they can express their you know, how they can show their work or how they're approaching the answer. So the onus falls on them to figure out if they got it wrong, why did they get it wrong, unless I see a very broad trend. And also the unit tests are 20% of their grade. So that makes it that each test is less than 2%. It's 2% weightage. It takes the pressure off of them, but at the same time, it is a differentiating factor. So and they are hyper competitive. So that's where. So that's the push and pull that happens. My struggle has been to find MCQs for them. A free response FRQs for them, and every chance I get, I make them do the FRQ on the College Board problem. Maybe sometimes I'll pull it out and give it as a Word document and say, okay, how would you approach it? But I would tie it back to the requirement that they have to think in the manner in which it is going to be tested, but they are going to be graded, because ultimately, you know, you're in an AP test, half of it is to prepare for the test. I mean, if it is just coding in Java, it is in my opinion, it's a very different class structure I would make. Yeah.
The push and pull of assessment. I love that phrasing. Describes it perfectly. Thank you. Shannon, how are you doing with assessments?
Yeah, I think I'm struggling in this area, but I mostly have been using CodeHS as multiple choice assessments. I have been using the progress check. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. Progress checks on AP Classroom, both the MRQ and the FRQ as our like review day, and telling the kids how important those are, again, because like you're trying to pass the test. So I give them, like, if it's 18 questions, they get 18 points. And if they did them all, they get all the points. But I don't think you're allowed to grade them for correctness. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm not supposed to grade based on how they do. So I've been using that for my review, and then the CodeHS questions for the test. I have some kids getting 100 and some kids like totally bombing. And I don't know. I don't know what's wrong there. My one student said, I can't do multiple choice questions. I said, well, you're learning to do them, and that's why we're going to keep practicing them. And, you know, we did that whole conversation. You know, and then I have other kids that do really well in the FRQs and some do terrible in the FRQs. But my other issue, again, I have 70-minute classroom sessions. I'm trying to keep the multiple choice so that it's about the same time as like the AP exam would be. But for instance, we just finished the while loop quiz. It was not enough time. Like there was too many questions, and those types of questions take a long time. Especially if I was trying to train them to like write your grid, you know, write your chart, and what's I, what's J, what are we doing, you know, and it just took them too long. I think I ended up abandoning the FRQ completely on Unit 4 because I was like, we're just gonna skip that. There's no time for this. But I had like one of my students, he's great. He finished 7 of the however many questions there were in Unit 4, and he got a terrible grade. But I was like, but I want you to understand. So that I'm struggling with it a little bit because I'm still learning the timing. It's my first year doing it. I think that test was too long. I did pull back. Let's say it was 20 questions. I don't remember, but I made it worth 18 so that everybody kind of had, you know, a little curve to it and that kind of thing. So trying to balance, like, I don't want to always have 2-day tests because it's 20 multiple choice and an FRQ, like that's too long. So trying to figure out where that sweet spot is. Open to advice.
Thank you for sharing. Any of my CodeHS folks want to chime in on assessment?
I will just say I gave paper tests. I know that is, I see the argument for not doing paper tests for a computer class, but I loved a paper test. That was I feel like they like really have to think through it a little bit harder than they do with the code editor. And yeah, I feel like I got a lot more insight from reading students written responses for a free response than the computer. But College Board changed their mind, so maybe if I was still teaching, I would be on the computer now.
At the FRQ, they don't have a code editor as such. They just have an editor. So in some ways, they complain that they don't have a compiler.
Well, the one thing that I noticed that College Board has fixed is that now you can, I mean, it's very rudimentary IDE. In other words, you can tab, and that's all you can do. Everything else they have to type it themselves, which I think I agree with. I definitely don't want something that's going to help them complete their other parenthesis or anything like that. But they do have so because last year I was using the FRQs and having them doing online the FRQs and the quizzes that I gave them. And from the College Board, I had them use a quiz College Board, and I even had them do the FRQ on the College Board online. And it was horrible because they have to like space in 3 spaces, and it was pretty hilarious. So I was really happy that they keep on improving on that. But yeah, I think that's all they needed was a tab. That's all they needed was just a tab to be able to have a good online system. But yeah, anyways.
It gets better every year, you know, we all improve our practice, we get better tools, we learn from our mistakes, it gets better every year. Well, thank you all so much for sharing. Kim, do you want to tee up this last question while I get the poll launched?
Sure. I was just curious about people like notes or no notes, because that was something that came up when I had my TEALS volunteers. All 4 of them said unanimously, oh, I didn't take notes when I was in school. We can't require the students to take notes. And I just thought it was interesting because I always took notes in school. So I was curious what other people think, to see if you require students to take notes in class, like everyone has to take notes. And also curious if it's digital notes or paper notes, or if you allow both. I let them choose because of that experience with the TEALS volunteer. So ever since, it's been really encourage you to take notes, but if you choose not to, then that's your choice.
All right, well, here are our results. Looks like a few folks require students to take notes, but most do not make it a requirement.
Can I comment on that for a quick minute?
Sure.
In the beginning of the year, I gave everybody the opportunity to pick a notebook with a folder inside, because we provide our students with stuff like that. So, and I strongly encourage them that they might want to write some things down. I have 2 that choose to do it and continue to do it on a relatively regular basis, but that's it. Nobody else does. So as a result, I put the AP CSA share is one of my links that I tossed in that document that I got from like a Facebook group. Somebody shared it. She has some great notes that I'll print like 1 page for the day. Like when we were doing string methods, it has like warm up on one side and some notes on the other. And I'll make them do it on like that particular day if I see a note that I like them to take, like guided notes type thing. But then my student, I told them, I was like, at least have the respect to pretend like you're going to look at this again. Like take it with you. Don't leave it on my desk. So I had to like reprimand them for like leaving them sitting around, because I was like, at least pretend that you're going to use this. So even when they do take notes, I'm not sure they ever refer back to them, but I still think that writing down, well, there's studies, right, that it connects to their brains.
Thank you for sharing that. Well, We have 3 minutes left, and I appreciate you already giving me 57 minutes of your time. And so we will take it to our wrap up and next steps. So our next PLC date will be January 28th, and we'll have the registration information coming out soon. I do plan, if I can at all advocate for this on my team, that those of you who attended live today get first dibs to come back in January, because I have loved this discussion. I have loved the sharing that we've done today. I hope that, you all exchange email addresses or find each other on your CSTA groups or your ISTE groups, wherever, you interact with computer science educators. Maybe you can find each other in those spaces. I love the sharing opportunities that we've had here today. I know it can be lonely being a computer science teacher. Sometimes you're the only one in your building. And so we need this time together. We need this time to learn. And so if you want to drop your email in the chat and stay in contact, I would love that. No pressure though. And if you would like to join us in January for our next quarterly session, I'm going to try to get you all first dibs and make sure that we can get you back here again to collaborate. So some possible topics we'll be addressing: pacing. We'll talk about every time we meet here in this professional learning community. We'll talk about potentially AI, alternate exercises, the digital textbooks, and anything else that you would like to discuss. So if there is anything that you would love to see us talk about in January, why don't you go ahead and throw it in the chat, and I'll make sure I download the chat and take some notes for our next meeting. So if there's nothing else, we have some other resources for you. Our amazing APCSA teachers, you can earn a micro credential, you can attend other free CodeHS sessions, you can follow us on social media, join our Facebook group. So we appreciate everybody's contributions in those spaces for sure. And then finally, I will also ask you to take a quick survey to just let us know how today really went for you. We want this group to be effective. We want to help ensure that you're getting out of it what you want in this hour's worth of time we've spent together. So if you could fill out that survey, it's just like 3 questions. I'd very much appreciate it. Thank you all so much for sharing resources. Anything else you want to throw in our document here, please do. And have a lovely evening. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you, Kim, for this amazing idea. She is the one who put this little whisper in our ears, and we've grown it to this amazing session here today. So thank you, Kim, so much.
I think it was great sharing. Thank you for doing it. Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all. See you later.
Bye. Thank you.